Take your time. Take your time.
I will sing from here.
What are we gonna sing tonight? Eventually, go through enough times, you get the chords. Okay, Shalom Aleichem to whoever's joining us right now. I can't see, it didn't show up on the screen. And Arya is here. And of course to my mother, and Avital, and David, and Katie, and Yael, and everyone who joins us, and all the people. Every week is very interesting. There's a few hundred people that at least watch a few seconds of the video. So if you made it this far, Shalom Aleichem to you. And we're going to continue the lesson from where we left off. Bezat Hashem. We're learning about vision. There's no one here tonight, so you can just leave it open, doesn't matter. If you're cold, you can close the window, close the door. We're talking about vision and Bitachon, and trust in Hashem. And Rabbi Nachman opened up the lesson, and he said, let's talk about what is vision. Vision is the light that goes out from the eye and the light that's reflected back into the eye. And he uses this as an analogy for us reaching out to Hashem and Hashem coming back to us. And then in the last lesson we were learning that true istaklut, being able to see something, is bitachon. Bitachon, which means trust in Hashem, not just belief in Hashem. Bitachon brings a person to seeing things in a way, I guess we could say in quotes, but it's a seeing, I don't know much about the third eye, but there's this spiritual thing about being a third eye here. And, in a sense you could say chokhmah, bina, and da'at, so the third eye is da'at. When you are able to see Hashem with your third eye, then you actually see Hashem. And the meaning of that is that you create a vision. You say, okay, Hashem, I need this certain thing, right? You want to get married, you want to have children, you want to have parnasa, you want to have health, you want to pay off your debts, whatever it is. You envision this thing and you ask Hashem to bring it to you. By you seeing it with your bitachon eyes, you create, just like vision, when I look at something, so there's a bottle right here. When I look at this bottle, I see the physical shape of it. If I put the bottle behind me, well, now I have a camera here so I can see it, but if I put it behind me, I can't see it, I can imagine what it looks like. So he says, but when we really see something, it gives it shape and form. When we have bitachon on the level that it's seeing, it gives it shape and form, and it allows it to come into this world. It allows it to be manifest. So that's where we left off. So yeah, that's it. Alechem shalom, shalom alechem. Okay, we're now in Gimel. V'zeu b'chinat ma'alat bitachon is what it starts off with, but I'm going to read the introduction first. לאחר שביאר שהסתכלות עושה ידיעה וכלי להגביר את הדבר הנראה בזמן ומקום, So after he explained that looking at something, vision, seeing something, creates knowledge and a vessel in order to limit that thing that's seen in time and place. Yiva'er, now he's going to explain, Sha'al Yedei Ze Yasig Midat Bitachon B'Hashem, that by having vision of what we are asking for, it creates the trust in Hashem. V'zeu b'chinat ma'alat Bitachon, and last week I read here the blessing from Reb Nassan for this lesson, so I'm going to skip that this week. V'zeu b'chinat ma'alat Bitachon, ki Bitachon u b'chinat istaklut. What is trust in Hashem? It's an attribute of seeing. V'abitachon b'Hashem perusho listaken. When we have trust in Hashem, it's like saying that we can see. Tahainu shemistaken v'tzofe be'inav la'Hashem yitbarach lavad u'boteach bo. That we look at and we see. Tzofe is another word for seeing with our eyes. Hashem yitbarach, blessed Hashem, blessed be He. Lavad u'boteach bo. Only in Hashem, and we trust in Hashem. There's a note here, Parot lechokhma, which is a commentary on the Likutey Moharan, v'zeh leshono, and this is what it says. רוצה לומר כי על ידי שמסתכן בכיוון על השפע שרוצה לקבל, by a person looking at, he wants to say that when a person looks at something with the intention of bringing down, manifesting in this world the thing that the person wants to receive, kagon al mezonot or malbush or dira v'chayotze, whether it's money or clothes or a house or the like, sheistaklut hazeh hu b'chinat or yashar. When we look at this thing, when we say, imagine you walk through the neighborhood here and you say, I want that house. You look at it and say, I want that house. So he's saying that's the Or Yashar, that's the light that's going out from the eye. Umagia hereut v'abitachon umaka kivyachol mebchinat hashpa'a hazot. So then the light goes out and the vision and the trust hit the object, as it were, and that is the bringing the shefa down. V'az chozer ha'reut elav b'bchinat o chozer. And then vision comes back to the person. This is the returning light. V'al yedei zeh umamshich imo gam ha'hashpa'a azot. And in this way, the person brings down the abundance. Hashpa'a means that Hashem is causing the abundance to happen. The influence in modern Hebrew, but it really is saying it's the act of bringing it down in the place and time, ad kan leshano. That's all it is. So it says, when a person looks at it with their eyes at Hashem and only trust in Hashem, then they make the ability for this thing to come down. B'bchinat ha'katuv, as is written in Tehillim, Enei cholelecha yisaberu. Enei kulam nosot elecha, Hashem lemale dai mechasronam. Everybody's eyes are looking at you, Hashem, so that you'll provide for us. Everyone's eyes are raised up to Hashem in order for Hashem to fill what is missing, what is lacking. And this trust in Hashem comes about through seeing. V'atam, and the reason is ki al yedei istaklut b'bitachon el Hashem, by looking with trust at Hashem, Gam ken osekli, it also makes a vessel. Right? When I look at an object, it creates a vessel. When my bitachon looks at Hashem, it creates a vessel. Shalom to Carlos. Tahainu, gvul uzman lashefa. That is a time and a place for the abundance. So if we go back to where we were before, if I'm visualizing something in my mind, and then I actually see it, the actual seeing it makes it much clearer. If I want in general, if I'm just saying to Hashem, I just want health. But if I'm very specific about my health, what do I want? What type of health? What do I want to be fixed in my health? Then that's like seeing. That's the level of seeing. And a person that has bitachon, that has trust in Hashem, they create the vessel for Hashem to give it to the person. Just like if a person, so let's take another analogy. A person says, I want to get married. And then they go to a party or they go to some event and they see a woman and they say, that's the woman that I want to marry, or that's the man that I want to marry. Before you went from the abstract to the concrete. So you said, I want to get married. Now you see the person that you want to get married to. And then let's imagine you have a conversation with that person and it goes well, and you start meeting regularly and it goes well. That creates the vessel in time and place. Before you were just asking Hashem, you're saying, Hashem, I want to get married. So it's this abundance that exists in time and space, but it hasn't been brought down to something concrete. But the second that you see the person or the thing that you're asking for, you create a place for it in time and space. That when a person does this, they create a limitation in time and space for the general thing that they're asking for, and then it has to come down for that person. Vayikahu asiyat kli, and the main thing is the making of the vessel. Ki hashpa'a yoredet milamala tamid, because abundance is always coming down from above. Vehi b'chinat or yashar. This is the direct light. So we have our direct light, and Hashem has His direct light. Our direct light is that we're looking at something and we're saying, this is the thing that I want. And Hashem's direct light is that abundance is always coming down. It's always there. But what we have here is a disconnect. The abundance is always there. Our desire is always here. But until we see it with our eyes of Bitachon, we haven't created the time and limitation of a physical object for it to come down. It remains up above in the potential realm, and it remains down below in the potential realm. But when we see it and everything clicks, then Hashem allows it to come down into this world. But only if we do it from a place of bitachon, of trusting in Hashem. Now I'm thinking about people that are successful in business, for example, that don't believe in God at all. But ironically, they probably still have a lot of bitachon. They just don't think that they don't call the bitachon b'Hashem. But let's say a person, let's just take a theoretical thing. Let's say a person is very successful in business and they decide to buy some big business. Decide to take a big chunk of their money and buy this big business. And they did their work and they think that this business is going to work, and they know from the work that they did that this business can work. Still, they're taking a risk because it's just like buying anything used. The person who's selling it said, okay, I had enough, I don't want it anymore. And the person that's buying it says, I see the potential and I can make it into something bigger. That in itself is a type of bitachon. That's a type of trust. Now the person might not call Hashem Hashem. The person can call Hashem business. I trust in my business instincts and my business skills. But it's trust, and it's trust beyond what you can actually see. It's not like somebody is saying, give me $5 and I'll give you a bar of gold. That's something that's really clear, it's tangible. It's somebody saying, I'm going to give you millions of dollars and I'm going to trust that what I can see, beyond what I can see, is going to work. And so even a person that is an atheist and would deny Hashem's existence, if they're living on that level, they probably have bitachon and they don't even realize it. And that bitachon is creating the vessel for Hashem to send them the abundance. But what they'll be lacking without acknowledging Hashem is having the true faith, because what happens if their vision doesn't work? So they buy this business and it doesn't work out for them. Somebody who has bitachon, they say, okay, I thought I did the right thing, but I trust that Hashem is going to carry me. And that trust will carry the person to the next thing. But the person that had only bitachon, but only had trust in Hashem, without emunah, without belief in Hashem, doesn't get the benefit of true trust in Hashem. They just had it for that one isolated thing. It doesn't carry them through their whole life. Shehi below zman. So Hashem is constantly sending down His abundance. This shefa, abundance, coming down all the time, but there's no time connected to it. Because it's above time, היא רוחנית ואינה יכולה לצמצם לבוא בזמן הזה אל האדם. It's just on a spiritual level, and it's not able to be constricted and brought down to a person in the time and place in this world. וגם אינו נגבלת להיות בשפע גשמי, and it's also not limited to become a physical abundance. The potential is there, but it's not coming down. כי כמו שרואים בחוש, as we see in reality, לפעמים, sometimes דבר שצריך לבוא עכשיו, something that needs to come right now, יבוא באיחור, will come in a delay, בשנתיים או 3 שנים, in 2 or 3 years. Right? You get something, you know you needed it. Right? At that moment you needed it. It's always easy to just say money. You needed a certain amount of money at that time, and then 2 or 3 years later, you get the money. But Hashem, I needed it 2 or 3 years before. It's very nice that you're giving it to me now, but I needed it then. How come it's coming now? It's not coming then? Because you didn't have the vessel for it. Because your Bitachon was not on the level for Hashem, for you to create a vessel, for Hashem to send the abundance down. But after 2 or 3 years, you did develop that, and then it can come down. Make sense? However long it took you to get married, that was the answer. Because all that time, you were working on creating the vessel for Hashem to send you your wife. And let's say a person is successful in business or in music or as an author, and they were working on it for 35 years. And then all of a sudden they're an overnight success. It's the same thing. They were building the vessel for it until they had a level of bitachon that they didn't have before. I see you have a question.
Yeah, well,
or you're pondering something.
It sounded like the histaklut is what makes the vessel, but regardless of what we think or don't think or are or aren't, Hashem creates, He gives whatever He is going to give. It seemed like regardless of whether or not we even have the clear or not, meaning even somebody who is on the level may nevertheless have to wait until Hashem says now is the time. Because that's what I was
So there's different parts here. A person can get things that they asked for and they wanted, when they asked for it and when they wanted, but the thing that you didn't get when you asked for and you wanted it, and when it does come later, the reason that it came later was because you didn't have the bitachon to create the vessel for it at that time. The other thing you did, and this thing you didn't. So we all have things that elude us. We feel like I have the ability to make money, to get married, to be healthy, but I'm not. Why are these things not happening for me? I'm making an effort, I'm doing all these things, why are they not happening? And then when the day comes that it happens, you say, well, why did it happen now? So you're saying, I'm going to tell you why it didn't happen, I'm going to tell you why it happened now. It didn't happen because it was sitting there waiting to come down. But you didn't have the bitachon to make the vessel for it to come down. And the moment that you did, it came down. And it could be something that the person works on for many, many years, even their whole lifetime. It only comes down at the time and place when the vessel is actually made. But the abundance is always there. This is what he's saying in the lesson, that just like the light is coming down from the lamp here, it's always coming down. The light is not being stopped. But if I were to create a shadow on the book here, and the book says, how come the light is always there, how come it's not reaching here? Because you didn't create the vessel to remove the blockage in this example so that the light could reach the book. We didn't create the vessel yet to receive whatever abundance it was. And the moment that we do, then Hashem is able to send it. Does that make sense? Okay. Even though this abundance already existed in the world, ulam uitakev melavo elav. Even though this abundance already exists in the world, it was delayed to come to this person. Because the abundance didn't have a time and place in order to come into this physical world. Before we were talking about it being in the realm of ruchniut, and now we're talking about it becoming a physical thing. Ke'en ze hu hashefa haba merom. This is the way that abundance comes from above, from Hashem. She'kol zman she'en lo kli shel bitachon, as long as there isn't a vessel of trust in Hashem, hu me'al hazman u'makom, v'hu nish'ar chani ve'eno yachol lavo alav. It remains above time and space, and it remains in a spiritual matter. It is not able to come down to the person in this world. Ach al yedei istaklut v'tzfi'ah bebitachon klapei mala. But when a person looks and has vision and can see with their trust in Hashem to the heavens, oseh lahashpa'ah gvul uzman liot shefa gashmi. They turn the spiritual abundance into something that becomes physical abundance. But it comes about through bitachon. Now, let's just take an example. I'm trying to always find practical examples for this. So let's say a person, we'll go back to business. A person worked on a business and it failed. The person worked on a business, it succeeded, they got some money. They want to build a bigger business. It fails, it succeeds, whatever it is. What's going on there with the failing and succeeding in this business? The failing is not having the vessel, and the succeeding is creating the vessel through bitachon. Now, I'm trying specifically to take somebody who doesn't necessarily believe in God. How does this work for them? They had the bitachon to start again. A person could have failed in business, and they could have just said, that's it, I'm done, and never started again. But in order to start again, even if you were successful or you failed, whatever it was, to start again, you have to have bitachon. So you can ask the person, well, where do you expect this money to come from? And the person might say, it's going to come from my smart mind, my intellect, my business savvy, my experience. Okay, how come it didn't come the first time, or the second time, or the third time? Why, if your business savvy failed you 3 times, are you still trying a 4th time? And that's where they'll discover that they have bitachon. They might not call it bitachon, but it's there. And essentially what they're doing by failing 3 times and ignoring logic and trusting a vision that's beyond their atheistic way of the view of the world, they're trusting in Hashem. They just don't call Hashem Hashem, and they're creating the vessel to receive the abundance the 4th time or the 5th time, whatever it is. And we all know stories like this. We know actors that were absolute failures and tried for 50 years and no one wanted to hire them. And then they tried one more time and now they're super famous. Those types of stories. Or a person, the joke, I don't know if it's a joke or just some analogy about 7-Up. Why is it called 7-Up? Because the person tried 1-Up, 2-Up, 3-Up, 4-Up, 5-Up, 6-Up. And the last one that worked was 7-Up. And that's the one that we drink till today. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but the story makes sense. So the question is, where does a person have whatever we want to call it, it's called Bitachon in our lesson, but in human nature, where do they have the desire or the trust or the belief to keep getting up and trying again and again and again when they failed? Because if you're going to say to a person, well, let's take God out of the picture, let's take trust out of the picture, let's just live in the atheistic philosophical environment that you live in. You're denying reality because you failed again and again and again. Don't tell me about your business savvy, it didn't work. Don't tell me about your business experience because it didn't work. You're a failure again and again and again. So why are you trying again? And the person will say, I just have a feeling that I can do it. I know I can do this. I can see it in my mind that this one is going to work. And then we hear about them, on some podcasts, and they talk about how they're a billionaire and that they failed 1,000,000 times. And if the guy interviewing them on the podcast says, so what's your relationship with God? I say, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in any of that. But ironically, he does believe in God, or he wouldn't have gotten to that place. And that's the whole point that Rabbi Nachman is saying. The only way that a billionaire could be a billionaire is if they have such a high level of bitachon, and bitachon is histaklut, meaning seeing, so the billionaire has a vision that they can be a billionaire. And because their vision is so real, and they believe in it in such a strong way, it allows Hashem it creates a vessel that allows Hashem to give them the $1 billion. So it works either way. What they're lacking is the benefit of having emunah. So they might be a depressed person. They might have all this money and be the most depressed person. And somebody who has really trust and faith in Hashem, no matter what they have, more or less, they'll be able to be happy. Because they'll fall back on their trust and faith in Hashem. That's what will give them the joy. They won't think that it's all them. What a terrible life, a person that only believes in their kochi ve'otzim, what's the phrase?
Kochi ve'otzim yadi.
Kochi ve'otzim yadi asali et ha'chayil hazeh. That I'm the one who made this happen. So when it doesn't work, I'm a failure. Right? Their whole identity is connected to the money or the success that they have in life. I remember reading about some bodybuilder who got into a car accident and then lost all of his muscles. Like the big bolt, because he probably wasn't taking steroids and he wasn't working out like crazy. And people came to the hospital to visit him, didn't recognize him, and he was so depressed because that was his whole identity. But a person that has faith in Hashem, trust in Hashem, and their identity is not tied to the external stuff. Their identity is tied to trust in Hashem. And the more abundance, as we would call in modern times, success that a person has, that would mean the greater their trust in Hashem. Because the more trust you have in Hashem, the more vessels you can make for Hashem to send you abundance, and the more abundance Hashem can send you. So let's go back. Oseh la shefa gvul zman liot shefa gashmi. So the person, through their trust in Hashem, makes a vessel in time and space for the abundance to become something physical. Im memadim shel gvul bazman, with dimensions of time and space. V'zeh b'chinat o chozer, and this is the returning light. Shetavo hashefa be'et uzman shetzarich, that the abundance will come in the time and place that a person needs. So to recap, he was saying that the abundance is always sitting there above, like you could even consider it right above us. But in order to bring it down into the physical world, you have to make this vessel a bitachon. And what he calls the or yashar is the direct light. For us, the or yashar is the davening leading up to Hashem. And then the returning light is when the shefa comes down. But for Hashem, the shefa is always there. The direct light is always there. It's only when we make a vessel for it do we receive the returning light. It's not really returning, it's the continued light. It's the light that was sitting there that can finally come down, that we merit to receive it. So there's a footnote on what we just read here, Shetavo shefa be'et uzman shehu tzarich, that the abundance will come in the time and place that a person needs. Mitoch divrei mahonat belikutei halachot, from the words of Reb Nassan in Likutey halachot, sheistaklut zo naaset al yedei shemitzayer et hadavar b'da'ato, that this vision is created by a person making a vision, a visual image of the thing in their mind. Hainu sheyesh lo kokach bitachon b'Hashem yitbarach sheyamale mishalot libo, that a person has so much trust in Hashem that Hashem can fulfill the person's desires. Ad shemitzayer la'atzmo b'bitachon gamo ki'ilu hadavar kvar nimtza atzlo, until a person creates a vision in their mind. It's amazing. This is Rabbi Nachman writing this. This is Rabbi Nassan writing this in 1820, long before the Secret and all the New Age stuff and manifesting. This is essentially what he's saying. He says a person creates an image in their mind. They believe so strongly in that image that they allow Hashem to create the image and bring it to the person. For them, it's practically tangible. They have such a clear vision of it, and they have so much trust and faith in Hashem that it can happen, that it's as if the thing is already in their hands. Ubazeh oseh lo kli, and with this a person makes a vessel. Lahagbil et hashefa b'makom hazman she'yavo alav b'yito, to limit the abundance. Right? We would think, why do you want to limit abundance? Because we're in a finite world, so you have to take something infinite and bring it down to something finite. So we created a vessel. We had trust in Hashem. We visualized it. We totally believed in it. That created the vessel for Hashem to bring it down and constrict it, as it were, in time and space, so that it'll come to a person in this time and place. Ha'or yashar u'istaklut shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu banu. The direct light is Hashem looking at us. Hainu hashefa sheyored tamid. That is the abundance that's always coming down. Va'or hachozer, and the returning light, uistaklut shelanu bebitachon klapei mala. It's our looking towards the heavens with trust in Hashem. Hainu shemitzayer b'da'ato ech hadavar ba'alav. That is, a person can imagine in their mind and see it clearly how this thing can come to that person. So he's talking about the power of thought, the power of visualizing. I remember the Secret. I had like a little period where I was really into The Secret, the movie, the book. I listened to all the speakers. Some of them turned out to be frauds, and I bought all their courses, and I did everything they said. I didn't become rich from The Secret, but I did learn something from The Secret. You know what The Secret is? The secret is that you visualize something, and it's exactly what he's saying here. You visualize something that you see it so deeply that you allow it to manifest in your life. That's the secret. And that's what he's saying right here. But he's using the term Bitachon. He says that your Bitachon is what allows Hashem to manifest in your life. In your life, he's also talking about the direct light and the returning light. V'zeh perush a pasuk, and this is the meaning of the verse. Einei cholelecha yisabeu. The eyes of everyone are turned towards you, Hashem, in order for you to give us what we need. The yisabeu, with hope. Al yedei zeh, and through this, v'ata noten lehem et achlam b'ito. You give everybody what they need to eat in its time. Perush, the meaning is, B'istakluto be'inav la'Hashem, when a person looks with their eyes towards Hashem, Tahainu b'chinat bitachon, that is, with eyes that have trust in Hashem, and those eyes are trust in Hashem, they're expressing the trust in Hashem, the b'chinat einei cholelech yisabeu. It creates, our eyes are looking towards Hashem in order for us to give us what we're lacking. V'al yedei zeh mitkayem bo, and through this we create, we bring about, that you're able to give them their food or their abundance in its time. Bito daika, specifically in its time. Dahainu, that is to say, be'et uzman shehu tzarich, the time and the place that a person needs. Ki bitachon ubchinat istaklut, because trust in Hashem is connected to vision. Osekli ugvul uzman kanal, that makes the time and place for this thing is mentioned above. Okay, we're going to read a little bit of the next section, and then we don't have so much time left, so we won't make it through that whole section now, but we'll start on it. Yeve'er she'et koach histaklut hazeh, he's going to explain that the power of this seeing, this vision, haosekli, that makes a vessel, makom uzman la'ashefa, a time and place for the abundance, mesigim al yedei itkavut latzadikim, we achieve this through coming closer to the tzaddikim. Sheistaklut b'pneihem hi b'pchinat pnei ashchina. That looking at the face of a tzaddik is looking at the face of the Shechina. The Shechina, just to remind everyone, is Hashem's presence in this world. So Hashem is creating all the world. Hashem is all the world. Hashem is everything inside and outside all the world. But Hashem created a world where there's free will, and it seems as if Hashem is disconnected from this world. So that part of Hashem that's revealed in this world is called the Shechina. Whatever we experience of Hashem in this world is the Shechina. And if you go and meet a tzaddik, a true tzaddik, take for example the Lubavitcher Rebbe, you go and you look in the eyes of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Lubavitcher Rebbe is a tzaddik on such a high spiritual level that it's as if you're looking at the Shechina in this world. Even though the Shechina is not something that we can physically see, but you can see the tzaddik, and the tzaddik is an aspect of the Shechina, and that's why coming close to the tzaddik allows you to get closer to the Shechina, which ultimately creates a greater vessel for Bitachon. That's his point in saying that. And we have V'yaminu b'Hashem u'Moshe avdo. Hi to Alice. Shalom Aleichem. We say it every day in the davening, in the song by the sea, that we believe in Hashem and Moshe as servant. Why do we need to believe in Moshe as servant? We have Hashem, right? Isn't it what is it? Not heresy, kfiut, for a person to have trust in Moshe And Hashem? No, I trust in Hashem. And then there's Moshe. No, we trust in Hashem and we trust in Moshe. Because Moshe is accessible. Hashem is many times beyond us. It's very hard to daven to Hashem, but it's easier to go to a true tzaddik and give a little kvittel and say, this is what I need. That's why Hashem built it in that way. That's why Moshe was such a big deal. It wasn't all about Hashem, 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 Hashem. Moshe was the one that was involved with the Jewish people and interacting with the people, but he was on such a high level that he was Keren Or, that he was a shining light, that he even covered his face after he came down from Mount Sinai and stopped having relations with his wife. That was because he could have been called at any time to speak with Hashem. Maybe that's where the Christians got their celibacies from, but it wasn't celibacy. Anyhow, just getting along, the point is that imagine we could interact with Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu is here and we can talk with him. We would be basically seeing Hashem, as close as a physical person could be to seeing Hashem. And when you have that level of faith, then you can create a vessel to bring the Shefa. Because a person who doesn't have that experience, and there's many Hasidic stories about people just meeting rabbis. I think at this point I'm just going to finish for tonight. Many people meeting rabbis and just being blown away. I mean, that was my personal experience when I met the Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's what started my whole path of tshuva. And what was I looking at? At the time, I didn't have any way of understanding what I was looking at. But what I was looking at was a pchina, an aspect of the Shechina, of Hashem's presence in this world. And that's why interactions with the Rebbe was so powerful. Now, imagine you stand in front of the Rebbe and you say to the Rebbe, I need $10,000 to pay off, I have debt, or I need to marry off my daughter, or whatever it is. And the Rebbe says to you, the money will come. And you believe in the Rebbe, like you know the Rebbe is the real thing. And the Rebbe said the money will come, then you know the money's going to come. So what did you really do? You increased your Bitachon in Hashem. The Rebbe didn't give you the money. The Rebbe basically said, I know Hashem, and I know that Hashem's going to give you the money, so my word is enough to give you some extra Bitachon, so you can create the vessel, so then Hashem can give you the money. What happens is that human nature, people many times think that the Rebbe or a rabbi is the real thing, and they turn that person into idol worship in a sense. There's, you heard of the Yanuka? You heard there's these videos coming out about him? There's a whole controversy about him. You heard about this?
Only in passing.
Okay, so I only heard in passing as well. There's some video somewhere on my phone that I haven't gotten around to watching. So there's this young guy who's apparently a Gilgul, a reincarnation of some great tzaddik, and he knew all the Torah, and it just came to him, and I don't really know the whole story. But people were very excited about this guy called the Yanuka, meaning the young one, and he became like a kind of Rebbe with a court and people giving him money, and now all these videos came out about people recording him behaving like a little child, saying, I need more money, I want more money, and not being the great tzaddik that everybody expected him to be. So I'm sure that there were people that got bitachon from him as well, by the way. And that proves the point, that it's not the tzaddik, it's your trust in the tzaddik. When a person really believes in it, they know it's going to happen. We can bring it down to a more practical level. Let's say I have a check for $10,000 from the U.S. government. I don't know if that's so reliable. It used to be reliable. But it's dated 6 months from now. So I know that the money, 6 months from now, I can go and cash that check, hopefully. Let's say you have a check from, I don't know, your rich uncle. And your rich uncle you could trust. He actually has money. Let's hope. He gives you the check, but it's for 6 months from now. That you will have the bitachon, because in your mind it is so clear. The money is right there. I can see it, I can feel it, I just have to wait for that time to come. He's saying that's what we have to do with our relationship with Hashem. We ask for something, we create the vessel for it, we have the total faith for it, and then it will come. And why didn't it come 2 or 3 years before? because we thought that we had the vessel for it, but we didn't actually have the vessel for it, because the abundance is always sitting here waiting to come down. But the second we create the vessel, it can come down. Okay, that's today's lesson. I'm going to share a story with you. And this is about 4 nights a week. I work on the Baal Shem Tov book now. I'm really trying to finish it. I'm very motivated at this point because it started with the early Motzei Shabbos. So I'm going to share a story that I edited last night from the book. A really sweet story. So there's some great stories in this book. So there's a guy, Reb Simcha, and his wife, and they're totally destitute. They have no money. They have kids. They have nothing to feed the kids. And I'm going to tell it in 5 minutes, Ezrat Hashem. And he just gets this idea. He wants to open a tavern. There's an inn and a tavern in the middle of nowhere on the Poritz, his estate, like way out in his lands. And he goes to the Poritz and he says, I want to try my luck at being an innkeeper and a tavern owner. Can I rent your inn in the middle of nowhere? And the Poritz says, sure, it's been sitting there for decades. Nobody wants it. So Reb Simcha says to the Poritz, I'll need a loan as well to buy some whiskey so I can have people come. He says, sure, I'll lend you the money. You'll pay me back at the end of the year. And he takes his family to this rundown tavern and inn and starts cleaning it up. He has a barrel of whiskey, puts out the sign, no one comes. Because it's in the middle of nowhere. Like no one comes. Day after day pass, no one comes. And every now and then somebody will just happen by and they'll give it some whiskey. And whatever they make from the whiskey, they go and they buy food. Eventually the Baal Shem Tov comes to this tavern, and they knew who the Baal Shem Tov was. And they were very excited that this great Rebbe came to their tavern. And the Baal Shem Tov, as soon as he gets there, he says to Reb Simcha, listen, I lost my snuff box along the way, and would you mind taking my horse and go and find it for me? It's somewhere in the forest. So he gets on the horse and he says, I'm going to find the Baal Shem Tov snuff box. I'm going to do the Rebbe this favor. And he's looking everywhere, and in the distance he hears somebody screaming for help. So he goes and he sees there's a carriage sunken in the mud, and there's a person in the carriage, and he's covered in freezing cold water and mud, and he's shaking from hypothermia, and he's been there for days, and he goes and he pulls this guy out. And the guy is just in such bad shape, he can't even speak. Reb Simcha takes him back to the tavern, cleans him up, gives him a place to sleep, and in the morning he gets up and he tells Reb Simcha that he's the prince of that whole region. His father's the king and he's the prince. And he saved his life and he wants to give him 2,000 rubles. So he takes out 2,000 rubles and Reb Simcha looks at it and the Baal Shem Tov is sitting there like this. And he says, why not? And the Baal Shem Tov says, nope, you can't take the money. So he says to the prince, I'm really sorry, it's my honor as a citizen to have saved you, but I can't take the money. He says, you're right. That's not worthy of saving my life. I'm going to give you 10,000 rubles. And he starts emptying his pockets. He has jewelry, and he has gold, and he has diamonds, and he has all this stuff. He says, here, take it all. It's all yours. I don't need it. You saved my life. I have plenty of money. Looks at the Baal Shem Tov. Says, no, we can't take the money. And now Reb Simcha's wife is looking like, we need the money. We need the money. It's here. It's related. I didn't even think about it. It's related exactly to this what we're learning here. And so he says, I'm sorry, Your Highness, I can't take the money. He says, okay, well, tell me your name. I'll write it down. So one day, if I can ever repay a favor, I'll have your name in the logs in the castle. So he gives him the name and everything, and he goes. And then the Baal Shem Tov also leaves right after that. And then they're sitting there destitute with no money. And also Reb Simcha gave like his last coins to the Baal Shem Tov because he wanted to give tzedakah to the Rebbe. And his wife was like, what? You were such an idiot. How can you give away all the little bit of money we had left and we have nothing? And you could have 10,000 rubles. 10,000 rubles. And he's like, leave me alone. Life is hard enough without you making me crazy. And then this big burly farmer comes bursting into the tavern. He says, give me some whiskey. And he puts a coin on the table. And Reb Simcha's wife goes to the barrel and she realizes the barrel is empty. That loan that they took, they already served all the whiskey. There's nothing there. So she tells her husband, what are we going to do? This guy will kill us if we don't give him whiskey. He says, take some water, put it in the barrel, shake it up, it'll taste like whiskey, and give him the water. So she does that, and he tastes it, drinks it back. He says, this is the best whiskey I ever had. Okay, it's not going to happen in 5 minutes, but I'll do it quickly. Best whiskey I ever had. Said, give me another one. Drinks another one. He says, I'm going to bring all my friends here. Before you know it, Reb Simcha is very wealthy. New furniture, the kids have clothes, they have food, everything, because this became the most popular tavern. Now they just kept putting water in the barrel and opening it up and putting the water in front of everyone that tasted like whiskey, and everyone was willing to pay a fortune for it. Became so popular that people started actually staying in the inn. And one time there were these two goyim staying there. They got into a fight, they were beating each other up. One killed the other, and they blamed it on Simcha. They said, the Jew just wanted to steal his money, calls the police arrests Simcha. He's sitting there in prison. They said, they didn't even do an investigation or a trial, they just sentenced him to death. And he's sitting there in prison, he's saying, I know that Hashem is going to help me. I know Hashem is going to help me. Somehow I'll get out of this, I know Hashem is going to help me. And a few days later, a policeman comes and opens up the lock and says, get out of here, Jew. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're free. I said, how come I'm free? He said, all the death sentences go before the king, and the king said you're innocent. So it turns out that the king was the prince that he had saved, and he wrote down his name. And how was he convinced that Simcha was innocent? Because he offered him all this money and he didn't take it. So what, he would kill somebody just for his money? There's no way he would do that. So the king said, go back to the guy that accused him, and I'll bet he's the real murderer. And of course he was. And they hanged the guy. And Simcha was given this huge plot of land and all the money that he refused to take before. And he never found that snuff box. So that's the story. Great story. I'm guessing he never looked inside the barrel either. I wouldn't look inside it. Shkoyach, everybody. We'll continue next week. Be'ezrat Hashem. What are we going to sing that's different than every week? Let's see.